Caitriona Balfe speaks out amid controversy, her relationship with Sam and her ex-husband under scrutiny. The London morning was gloomier than usual. Caitriona Balfe stood by her apartment window, a cup of cold tea in her hand. The city below was still noisy, but in her mind was a heavy silence, the kind of silence that only appears before a real storm. Her phone rang for the 10th time in less than 20 minutes. Caitriona didn't need to look to know who it was: her manager, the media, friends, even people she hadn't contacted in a long time. And even people she had never met. On the screen, the words were clear. Caitriona Balfe officially speaks out amid controversy regarding Sam Heughan and her ex-husband. She gently closed her eyes. So, finally, that whirlwind had called her name, once again. 1. When silence is no longer an option. Caitriona once believed that silence was the best way to protect her privacy. She had lived that way for years in the entertainment industry, answering just enough, smiling just enough, maintaining a clear line between her public persona and her private life. But this time it was different. The articles weren't just speculation. They began to construct stories, piecing together fragmented lives into a script she hadn't written. Sam, her co-star of over a decade. Her ex-husband, a chapter of her life that had quietly ended. And she, placed in the middle as a point of intersection, full of hidden implications. "Kate, we can't continue to be silent," her manager said over the phone, her voice tense. "They're going too far." Caitriona sat down on the sofa. "Silence has never stopped them," she replied softly. "But speaking up might help me reclaim the right to tell my story." Caitriona looked out the window again. Perhaps it was time. 2. Sam, always placed in a position of more than a co-star. Caitriona first met Sam Heughan at the Outlander audition. At the time, she never thought this professional relationship would last, much less that it would become one of the most scrutinized topics in her career. Sam was straightforward, funny, and had a way of making others feel comfortable working with him. They quickly built trust, something crucial for two actors who had to share so many intimate scenes. But their on-screen chemistry became a double-edged sword. The audience loved them, too much. And from love, they began to demand. "Kate, do you ever get tired?" Sam once asked her during a break in filming, after they'd read the latest comments. Caitriona gave a wry smile. "I'm tired of them not believing that two adults can just be friends." Sam sighed. He understood, but he also knew that everyone handles pressure differently. And then, when Caitriona's private life began to crumble, all eyes turned to Sam, as if he were a convenient explanation. 3. Her ex-husband and a quiet marriage. Unlike the stories the media painted, Caitriona's marriage wasn't a tearful tragedy. It was simply a relationship that had reached its limit. They met when Caitriona was still finding her footing. They married when she was starting to become famous. And they separated when they both realized they were going in different directions. Neither was wrong, they just weren't compatible anymore. They chose silence. No press releases. No exclusive interviews. But that silence became a void for others to fill with theories. She divorced because of Sam? Her ex-husband couldn't stand the ambiguous relationship? A love triangle behind the scenes? Caitriona read those lines and felt a chill in her heart. Not because of pain, but because of injustice. 4. When the media crosses the boundary. Things escalated one Friday evening. A major news site published a lengthy analysis, piecing together Caitriona's career timeline with her appearances with Sam, concluding with a cryptic statement about the failed marriage. The article spread rapidly. Hashtags with her name topped the charts. Caitriona received a message from her mother. "Are you okay?" Just 4 words, but they choked her up. She realized, she wasn't the one being hurt the most, but those around her, those who didn't choose to stand in the spotlight. That night, Caitriona sat alone, her laptop open. She didn't rush to write. She thought for a long time. Finally, she typed each word slowly and carefully. 5. Speaking out, but not to justify herself. The next morning, Caitriona posted a short statement. No blame. No defensiveness. No detailed explanation of her personal life. Just the truth, in her own way. I understand the public's concern, but I want to make it clear. The relationship between me and Sam is one of respect, trust, and pure professionalism. My past marriage ended for private reasons, unrelated to any third party. I hope everyone will respect this boundary. That's all. But the impact was significant. 6. Sam speaks out, in his own way. Sam read the statement in the gym. He paused, wiped the sweat from his brow, and read it again. He knew, sooner or later, he had to say something. Sam posted a message on his personal social media account. Caitriona is a wonderful person, a wonderful colleague. Speculation beyond the truth not only builds complex wounds but also obscures the work we've built together. Not long, not overly emotional, but enough to define the scene. 7. Ex-husband, someone who never wanted to show up. What surprised Caitriona most was an email. Old from old. I don't want to remain silent any longer if that silence hurts you, he wrote. If you need confirmation that our marriage is over because we made a joint decision, he's ready. Caitriona read the email, tears falling without her realizing it. Not out of love, but because of a remaining cell. She replied briefly. Thank you, but I want to handle this myself. 8. The left-way reaction. Following the announcement, public opinion split in two. One side criticized Caitriona's famous supporter, condemning the media for invading her privacy. The other side continued to speculate, arguing that that wasn't enough. Caitriona knew that would happen. She didn't want to please everyone. She just needed to be true to herself. 9. The meeting with Sam. A week later, Caitriona and Sam met at a small cafe, away from the paparazzi. Sam looked at her, half jokingly, half seriously. We're making headlines again. Caitriona laughed. At least this time we're speaking our own minds. Fatal re. I am sorry you have to bear so much. Caitriona shook her head. Neither of us caused this. But we have the right to end it. They sat for a while, drinking coffee, talking about new projects. The usual things people often forget they need to. 10. After the storm. Several weeks passed. The media shifted to other topics. Hashtags died down. The controversies escalated. Caitriona returned to the studio. This time, she felt more at ease. She understood that. There will always be people who want to tell your story for you. But the choice to speak or not remains yours. In a later interview, when asked, "What did you learn from this time?" Caitriona replied slowly, "I learned that silence isn't always weakness, and speaking up isn't always resistance. It's important to know what you're defending." 11. The woman behind the glamour. Tonight, Caitriona came home, changed, removed her jewelry, and stood before the mirror. She found a woman who had experienced many versions of herself. A model, an actress, a wife, an independent woman. And now, a woman no longer afraid to set boundaries. Caitriona turned off the lights, entered the bedroom, leaving behind a long day. Besides, the city lights were still on. Her story, finally, was back in its place, in her hands. 12. Adjustment. After all, the relationship between Caitriona and Sam remained the same, respectful, clear, needing no proof. The old marriage, needing no additional solutions. And Caitriona, amidst the storm, chose to stand firm, not needing to say more, but needing to say the right thing at the right time. Recently, that was the answer.